What most people get wrong about spiritual bypassing is that it's almost only about toxic positivity. That couldn't be further from the truth. I see a rise in people that need to go through healing in all ways and all areas of their lives. And because of that, they're actually spiritual bypassing. These are what I call the storytellers. Before we go into this subject today, I want to address that probably you have this within you in to some extent, and maybe you will recognize the three different types of spiritual bypassing which I will discuss today. So before shame someone else or think that that's not me, look deeply into yourself and feel into that if you might sometimes in some situations have those tendencies. Because with everything in life, I do believe that we do live on a kind of a scale, right? And at some point, most of us, at least, are in one way or another spiritually bypassing. So, spiritual bypassing, according to me, and to explain it in a very simple way, is that we are in one way or another denying our spiritual growth and evolvement. But we do that in a little tricky way because we maybe go through different type of practices. We use these kind of spiritual concepts such as manifestations, law of assumption. We maybe use, I don't know, different type of meditation methods, journaling. It can be whatever you feel drawn to. But in one way or another, we are actually very active in regards to understanding ourselves more, in regards to awakening and remembering the true essence within. So the storyteller is the person who continue to tell their old stories over and over and over again in different type of situations, in different type of discussions, to themselves, to others. This can look like they continue to tell themselves and others that, you know what, it's difficult for me to go through this process because I have had this and that in my past. So of course it is easier for you to evolve and grow through this, but I don't have that ability, or I don't have that luck, or whatever it is. So that's why I have so much more difficulties, and so that's why I am stuck. The storytellers are the ones who are telling themselves that, you know what, I had a really shitty time, or I've had a really shitty childhood, and everything that happens is in regards to this childhood. And I'm going to find out every single memory and every single moment where I got hurt when I felt that I didn't got seen or heard or whatever it was. And I'm going to dig deep and find every little single thing where I have not healed yet. That is kind of what is going on in the internal process. Of course, the storyteller is not like telling that. And of course, the storyteller is not like being so, open about it to themselves, because or else they wouldn't be doing that. But what I see, and this is a state where I have been in, as I said in the beginning, like we all go through these different stages according to me, and it is okay, it is okay, and it is on a scale. So really look at where do you have these kind of tendencies in your own life and in your own kind of evolvement of your spirit and of yourself. So to make it clear, like the storyteller, and what I noticed lately is that there is a lot of okayness in regards to continuously talking about what you've been through, continuously talking about what you're healing through, how painful things is, how shitty life is, how hard life is. And even though it's totally okay, it is also a way for us to not progress. And it's also a way for us to say that we do all these healing modalities, we take on these spiritual practices, all these kind of different ways how it is that we look into ourselves. We talk about our inner child, we maybe talk about our childhood wounds, all of that. But at the same time, we are in that state. Like if you focus on that, that is what we will get, right? So if I continue to focus on healing, focus on what happened to me and how I responded to that, that is what I will get as well. I will get the answers in that, right? And that's why I'm saying that too much of our old stories, too much of that does only make us to live in the past. We have to shift our focus. Of course, we need to heal through what we need to heal through. Of course, we have to look at things in our lives and so forth, but we have to also say at some point that I'm done now, or it's over, and now I'm shifting my focus towards here and now. I'm shifting my focus towards my future, and I'm shifting my focus to the life I want to live, the life the human and person I want to evolve into, and the inner being that I am right now and that I want to continue to be. We don't need to go back to the childhood to be spiritual bypassing when it comes to healing. We can also do it in small, like, tendencies of that. Yeah, you know what? I have this habit. This is who I am. I have this habit. So that's why I have difficulties in it. Before, I used to say that I have difficulties in concentrating. So when I was studying, I had a lot of difficulties in concentrating because that is what I kept on telling myself that I had, right? So the storytellers love to tell these stories of different ways that they are in a certain type of way, and that is just how it is. So they have these difficulties, and that is what it is. But then we can never make this change. Whereas when I changed and shift the focus, I understood that I do not have difficulties in concentrating, right? I am actually focused on something, whereas I'm not focused on something else. So where's the difficulties in concentrating here? It's just that I'm focused on something else. So what is it that I will talk about the two other archetypes as well, but just to mention quickly, what is it that you can do if you feel that you have the tendencies of being the storyteller? The storytellers, I would say, are very passionate about telling about themselves and telling about their life. They connect through stories. They connect through talking with people about different type of things, and that is the beauty with the storytellers. So you don't have to change that, but I would say that it could be helpful for you to change your stories and what it is that you're actually telling, because the more that you will tell about something, the more that you will subscribe to that reality. So instead, what you can do is to have a look at what stories are also true to me, what stories are also real to me, and how can I tell them instead. So what is it that I want to birth into, or what is it that I want to tune into more of the true essence of who I am? What is the other perspective of this story, right? So instead of telling yourself that I'm very sensitive to energies, you might be telling yourself that, you know what, I connect and relate to the world through energies. So I feel it very strongly, other people's energies, for instance, and yeah, that is my strength or whatever, right? So instead of like really, we should not lie, right? If we don't feel that that is our strength, and if we feel that we are having difficulties with it, we have to find the kind of stories that suits us, and we can also work towards those stories, absolutely. But what I'm saying is that we just have to make sure that we are actually talking about things that we want to create instead of things that we don't want to create, but we create more of that because we're talking about it, right? So for the positive bloomers or the positive flowers, I call it flower because these are the people who really want to make a change. They want to make this sprint into blooming, evolving, expanding now. They are so ready to make a positive change. So that is what they do. But they can also tend to, keep on repeating certain affirmations over and over and over again, but they notice that it doesn't help them. Or they can get into the vibe, focus on that, but they don't actually feel that they are in that vibe, that they're embodying that vibe. So this is the kind of ways that they are spiritual bypassing. The positive flower is someone who's really want to make this sprint, right? They want to speed up things. They want to speed up the progress, and they see that they feel really good about feeling and being more positive and optimistic. So we should definitely embrace that and look at that, but we can do that in different ways, right? So when we're changing state, we're never just changing state and just well, okay, then I'm feeling happy instead. Then no, we have to feel it, right? So first and foremost, we look at ourselves. Why do I feel as I feel right now? Why do I feel shitty right now? We accept the situation for what it is. After that, we're taking it to the next step. Okay, what state is better for me? How can I like improve the situation right now? How can I feel better about this situation? We turn into this kind of reflection, and then we can go into changing the state. But what I see that we do many times when we have these tendencies of being the positive flower is that we do want to skip through to that state directly. So we choose the path to resistance instead of the path to least resistance, by forcing ourselves to feel more positive, by forcing ourselves to change the energies right now, by forcing ourselves to feel that we are like feeling a greater or something like that. But if we don't do that, and if we don't feel that we manage to do that in the moment, it will not be helpful anyways. So what can the positive flowers do if they want to stop spiritual bypassing, so to say? It's important for you that you really look into the anchoring and the grounding of your practices and what it is that you do for your self-improvement. So this means that if you are continue to repeating affirmations, but you don't seem to get that much of a progress, or some days it feels and some days it feels a little bit it isn't that kind of a expansive feeling of this really works, this really feels great to me, right? Then I would say we have to look into our practices a little bit and go deep into the desire. Because what I see many times, if you have these tendencies of doing things like a little bit, the positive without anchoring and without grounding yourself, is that we can skip the steps of the deep desire. Why we had a desire in the first place? Why did I have the desire to create this reality? Why did I have the desire from the beginning? Since we have this kind of skipping tendencies, jumping over a couple of steps, we do also having these tendencies of just like, oh, this I feel inspired for, but not really feeling into like why. What is the deep desire why I feel inspired to do this? What is the deep emotion why I feel inspired to do this? Number two, the different practices that you have. If there's something where you feel that doesn't really make me a progress right now, what you can do is that you can like tweak around a little bit with that practice. So for instance, very early, luckily, I found out that affirmations didn't really work for me. It works for me sometimes, but not that much. So then I started to like notice my own thoughts and notice that I usually like question myself a lot. And I realized that, okay, the kind of questions I ask myself is also a kind of way how I direct my thoughts into some stream or not, so to say. So then I started with something that is called ask affirmations. I didn't know what it was by then, but I know now that it's actually something called ask affirmations that you can do. Or I also noticed that, when I feel activated, expanded, when I feel that my energies are flowing, is when I'm actually talking very freely. So I started with something that I call talkalizations. You can also see it as like a rampage or something like that. Like it started with me just doing a rant actually, and then I just like changed this and started to feel in my whole body how that was changing my vibration. So have a little bit tweak in your practices. Third archetype is the fixer. And the fixers are the people who ask a question to receive an answer, and then they ask a question again, and then they receive an answer again. So they do feel they make some certain type of progress, or they usually feel that they make a lot of progress because they ask so many questions and they receive so many answers, right? So they receive new input, new insights, new directions, new things to do. But they do this like on a very micro level and over and over and over again. And if you feel that you are in a state where you notice that, I'm actually not making so much progress. I thought I would have done much more progress now that I have actually done, or that you maybe feel that it's very slow moving. It might be because you have the tendencies of being a fixer then. The fixers are really those ones who have this energy of being in a hustle mode, of being in a force mode, push mode, like adding a lot of tension and stress into their everyday life. So they are always constantly about to do something. They are workers, right? Instead of actually focusing on the solution, they are focusing on the problem, because they keep on asking a lot of things in regards to like, why is it this way? Why am I lacking this? They have that kind of mentality and those kind of questions. So for the fixers, I would definitely recommend for you to first and foremost take a week of reboot. The fixers are often quite much up in their mind and need a mental reboot. So Give yourself a week to stop asking yourself questions. And it's a good practice because you will see how many questions that you ask yourself and how chatty your mind is. But just like see how it evolves. Questions will come and just be like, okay, now a question come, I'm letting it go. The fixers needs to get into the art of receiving and the art of surrendering. So we need to let go of things. So when we get a question, we can get a question just like, okay, well, I see that I have a question now. I can let go of that question for now. And if it's supposed to be answered, the answers will come. But for now, taking it slow, I'm just like observing it, right? So this is what you need to do first and foremost, so that you get down into your body once again. Like the fixers are usually overdoing things, so we have to balancing out with being. Secondly, what I see many fixers are doing is that they have a very tight schedule. So they have their morning meditations, and then they have their yoga, and then they have maybe a journaling practice a little bit later, maybe go out for a walk. They have different type of things, how they tuning into themselves and how they like talk to and conversate with their inner being. Like they conversate a lot with their inner being, right? But they create this false belief once again of actually making progress. What we need to do here is, instead of adding more activities or anything like that, we need to bring in simplicity into our daily lives. So for a little while, it can be great for you to either reduce the activities that you have so that you can integrate into the activities that you already do and really feel into it. We need to go down to our body, so feel into it. So if you have a meditation, really feel how that meditation feels like for you and focus on that, not focusing on answers once again. Just focus on, like, how does it feel? How does this practice make me feel? Where am I right now? What type of senses can I use in this moment, for instance? Like anchoring, integrating into everything that you do. If you have a journaling practice, just feel into, like, wow, I have a journaling practice right now. It feels so, how does it feel? Yeah, it feels great. Okay, nice. You're more so like becoming more into observing yourself, so that you can slow down a little bit, so that you can actually also see that you're whole. There is nothing that needs fixing, actually. We can tap into our true essence and our being directly. Though it's said that, of course, it is helpful and can be fun to use different type of practices. Why not make our living and our daily lives like funnier? And if it helps you to use different type of practices, go ahead, do so. But just so you know, there is nothing that needs to, like, if nothing needed to be fixed, you would not have been fixing it, right? So these were 3 different type of archetypes which I see. Tune into the different ones that you maybe see that you have a tendency of at this moment, so that you can actually make progress, so that you can actually see for what it is and avoid to spiritual bypass. I hope that this was helpful for you. I hope that you comment. I don't know, my camera died before, so I don't know if I said that, but comment down below the archetype that you have if you're watching it on YouTube, or come over to YouTube and comment what archetype that you are, because that would be so fun to read about. I'm looking forward to talk to you next time. Keep on listening to your within talks. Bye.